We are now over halfway into Q1 of 2018, and the mystery of what Switch games are coming and when they're coming is still very unclear. We've had many confirmations and rumors of new first and third-party titles, but little to no release dates or really any solid information has been released. I have no doubt that at least half of the big Switch games that are coming out this year probably haven't even been announced, but that doesn't mean that we don't have a few promising contenders already. I'm genuinely excited for probably at least a dozen games that we know are coming this year, and I've comprised a list of 5 of those games that I'm absolutely most excited for. As most of these list form videos are, it's going to be sort of opinionated, but I mean, if it was an objective list of like the top 5 games that will probably sell the most this year, that'd probably be pretty boring. You probably already know what those are. I mean, the Yoshi, the Kirby, all those. But this is just my personal top 5 games that will be coming out in 2018. Mega Man is one of the longest lasting gaming franchises in history, and last year marked the 30th anniversary of its first release on the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1987. There have been over 50 iterations of a game revolving around this main character since then, but this year we're going to see the 11th edition of the main series 2D adventure game. Instead of returning to the classic 8-bit graphics that we saw in both Mega Man 9 and 10, this new title will feature 3D side-scrolling graphics similar to what you'd see in a modern Donkey Kong Country game. Just like previous entries, we're going to see all new bosses and weapons, and the first one to be revealed goes by the name of Brickman, who will give you a pretty sweet looking weapon that'll spawn 4 bricks in front of Mega Man that drop down and crush his opponents. In my personal opinion, I would have preferred them to try the 8-bit style again, maybe with some more flair and 3D graphics, or maybe even a 16-bit style similar to what we saw in Sonic Mania. With the success of that Sonic game last year, along with the fact that we haven't seen a main series Mega game in 8 years now, I wouldn't be surprised to see this game sell very well. This game is going to be released on all platforms this year, but just like Sonic Mania, I think it's really going to find its true home on the Switch. I only wanted to include one Nintendo-published game on this list, and while I'm very excited for Kirby and Yoshi, and very intrigued to see what Fire Emblem is going to look like, I think that Mario Tennis Aces is really going to be the best Nintendo IP to be released this year. On the surface, it may just look like a sports game, but I think that this title is going to have a lot more nuance to it than most games in that genre. First of all, this is going to be the first Mario Tennis game to feature a story mode since the Game Boy Advance iteration in 2005, and it looks like it's going to bring quite a bit of variance to just the regular tennis experience that we all know, including some interesting boss characters such as the giant Petey Piranha character that we saw in the trailer. It also looks like they're going to be bringing back all of the interesting different shots available from Ultra Smash on the Wii U, as well as the Ultra Smash itself, which we saw can actually break the opponent's racket now, which is pretty sweet. Another new gameplay feature comes in the form of a stamina or some sort of power bar. It looks like it can be built up to perform some sort of boost attack. Also, all of the new character designs look pretty cool. They're all dressed in tennis garb rather than their traditional outfits like we saw in Ultra Smash, and that also meant that we finally got to see Waluigi's dorky haircut for the first time in history. We don't know the full roster of characters yet, but I hope to see a larger number than Ultra Smash, and maybe even some characters outside the Mario universe, like Link and Zelda, or maybe a pair of Inkling kids. I'm now imagining Link and Zelda in tennis garb, and it's pretty hilarious. I think that Mario Tennis Aces will be a genuinely fun single-player and local multiplayer experience, even for people who don't usually enjoy basic sports games. Okay, I know that I said I only wanted one Nintendo-published game on this list, but This one technically isn't their IP at least. Bayonetta 3 was just announced a couple months ago, and all we got was that tiny little teaser trailer with no gameplay at all, so we really have no expectation as to what this game is going to look or play like, but we do know that it's going to be designed specifically for the Switch exclusively, so expect a breathtaking single-player adventure similar to Mario Odyssey or Breath of the Wild. Bayonetta 1 and 2 were remastered and re-released for Switch just this week, which is going to build the hype and also give the team more resources to make this third sequel a true masterpiece. Like I said, all we've gotten so far with this game is a super vague teaser, but as far as what I think and hope we might see is some more customization or RPG elements in the game beyond just finding and equipping different types of weapons. To be completely transparent, we still don't know 100% that this is going to be released in 2018, but seeing as there's already been rumors of this game since long before that announcement video a couple months ago, I would not be surprised at all if this game was already close to finished. Nintendo created a huge splash in the shooting game scene with Splatoon, making the genre less about being as realistic as possible and more about creating a fun, different experience. The ripple of that splash has spread to indie developer Cosmoscope GmbH, who have created a shooter like nothing else that you've ever seen. This is a self-proclaimed, robot morphology-driven, third-person shooter in which you can shrink an enemy's body part by shooting it, which in turn will grow the same body part on yourself. Depending on how big each body part is, you'll unlock special powers, such as being able to jump very high when you have large legs, or being able to fit into small houses when your body is tiny enough to do so. For the Switch version, the developers have also confirmed gyroscope, motion controls support, which is a huge deal. If you play Splatoon regularly, you know how hard it is to go back to just a thumbstick on something like the PlayStation, and it's great that other games are trying to push these controls. Since Call of Duty 4, I have had a hard time just enjoying multiplayer shooting games in general due to the lack of innovation, and while those types of games I think will always appeal to the younger demographic and sell massively, I think that a lot of gamers share my sentiment. Murphy's Law is hoping to break the mold in a huge way, which I think matches perfectly with the fact that it's going to be a Nintendo Switch console-exclusive release. The game was originally planned for a December 2017 release, but now claims to hopefully be out by mid-March this year. The turn-based RPG genre is honestly my bread and butter, my favorite type of games to play, but I rarely play these types of games anymore just because of how much of a time sink they all are. The time and care that you put into your characters is of course part of what makes these games great, but there are literally hundreds of these types of games that come out every year, and I really can't put hours into all of them, especially when so few of them have the flair and innovation to really be a fun new experience for me. Like I said though, these are my absolute favorite type of games, and none have intrigued me as much as Project Octopath Traveler has in even the last 10 years. This is an open world, story-driven RPG in which you can begin in 8 different places around that world depending on what character you'd like to start with. It's assumed that all these characters will come together in the end, but the order in which you find and recruit them all is going to be up to you, giving you the option to choose where you want to go while also keeping a very strong story focus as well. A demo for the game was released last year in which you can play the intro stories for 2 of these characters, and they were both very different stories and both very, very compelling, enough for me to remember them months after originally playing that. The game features a very unique HD 2D style, which puts 16-bit art into the Unreal Engine 4 to create a never-before-seen style that really makes this game stand out. Now, this is a classic turn-based RPG, but with a lot of nuance to it, like a weapon triangle type system, except with much more than 3 weapon styles, as well as a boost point system that can be used to attack more than once each turn. Following the release of the demo, the development team actually put out a video on YouTube explaining all the things that they changed based on the feedback that we all gave them, And it was just so amazing. It's like a 10-minute long video just going over the biggest points that everyone complained about, and they actually changed them. I have no doubt that this is going to be one of the greatest games in its genre of all time, and it's by far my most anticipated release of this year. 2017 was a huge year for Switch games. Multiple titles that I played and reviewed have made it to my top 10 games of all time list, so it's gonna be pretty hard to beat. The timeline of when we're getting a lot of these games is still very blurry, but I think it's definitely on purpose, and that's gonna help to create more hype and maybe more enjoyment for the games that come out this year. If there's any games that you think should have been on this list, please let me know down in the comments. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe to my channel for the latest Switch content available. This is Max from Max Culture, and thank you so much for watching.